The wave of mysterious drones in the skies over multiple states has raised questions and fears and sparked a frantic search for answers, demand for answers. Authorities confirmed that some are drones, but others are just regular airplanes. So if you want to know for sure what you're seeing in the skies above, guess what? There are apps for that. CNN's Clare Duffy is joining me now. I am curious about these apps. How do they work and how many are there?
Yeah, Sarah, this is a really cool way to make sure before you tweet that video of what you think is a drone to check whether it's actually just a regular old commercial airplane. There are 3 of these apps, Flight Radar 24, Plane Finder, and FlightAware, that will give you a real-time picture of the aircraft that is flying above you. And it also includes helicopters and some drones. So they have these maps where you can look at your live location and see the planes that are flying above you. It will also give you information like their altitude, their speed, their destination, what airline it is. And this works because most aircraft transmit this data called ADS-B data, which tells ground stations and other aircraft where they are. So these apps collect that information, and actually 2 of these apps, Flight Radar and Plane Finder, will let you point your camera at the sky if you see a plane, and it will tell you what that plane is. And it's pretty impressive. I tried it this morning. It is very gloomy here in New York. You can't really see the sky, but it still showed me a number of the planes that are in the area.
Okay, so when I like that idea, because one of them shows just like all the planes in the air, and I think we've all looked at sort of some of those. Is there anything that these apps aren't really able to see or show? Because you have drones that can be this big and you have ones that can be huge.
Yeah, so you aren't going to see some military aircraft, some high-profile aircraft. You're not going to see Air Force One on these apps. And then there are some of those smaller hobby drones that don't have the technology to broadcast their location the way that planes do.
You know, maybe some folks in the government ought to use some of these things. This has been a time when a lot of people are really concerned of what they're seeing above their heads. Yeah. Clare Duffy, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
CNN's Polo Sandoval has the very latest for us. So let's start with this incident in Ohio, Polo.
You're talking about the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Southwest Ohio, Kate. This is a reminder of the real disruptive potential of this drone saga, for the sake of our conversation here, that's continued now for almost a month. Base officials there assessed the situation, and leadership there were able to conclude that it did not have, that the unauthorized flights did not actually have any impacts on the base. But again, we've seen something similar before. Now the DHS, the FBI, really at the head of this investigation, maintained that everything they've seen, all the evidence they've gathered in Ohio and beyond, seems to indicate that these drone sightings are not actually a threat to the public. But over the weekend, I want you to listen into the head of the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, as he, again, reminder that we have heard from federal officials, including the FBI, that have concluded that many of these sightings likely have to do with just a regular airplane. But when you hear from the secretary from over the weekend, he recognizes that some of them are actually drones.
Some of those drone sightings are, in fact, drones. Some are manned aircraft that are commonly mistaken for drones. It is our job to be vigilant in the federal government with our state and local partners on behalf of the American public, and we can assure their safety by reason of that vigilance.
And what you heard from the head of DHS just a few moments ago is important here, because when you hear from lawmakers, when you hear from residents in the affected area, we have heard some of those concerns, Kate, that their concerns are going largely overlooked, that they're potentially even being dismissed as simply just being an airplane. So when you hear from the head of DHS recognizing some of those concerns, I think that's important. And then finally, we do know that the federal government is deploying various assets, as the governor of New York described it as state-of-the-art equipment to try to track down these drones and try to identify them. Wouldn't really elaborate on exactly what that kind of equipment is, but we've heard from experts last week that they use cameras, they use radar, they use radio frequency equipment as well to try to track those down. And this is the kind of equipment that we have heard from lawmakers they want there on the ground. But really, just to punctuate your interview with the senator from Connecticut, Senator Richard Blumenthal, I think that's so key. The question that he raises nearly a month later, there's this information gap that is contributing, according to him, to the alarm. And the question that he raised with you, which is it that the government's not sharing everything that they have, or is it that they don't know everything that they should? I think people in some of these affected areas would say they don't know which one's worse.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the fact that it's not just I'm seeing things over my house that concern me. It's over an Air Force base that's shutting down airspace, and there's problems at Boston Logan Airport. This is not just a distraction. It is disruptive, and a lack of information is not an acceptable answer at this point. We'll see what happens today. Good to see you, Polo. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
John?
All right, with us now is New Jersey Assemblyman Eric Peterson, who is a state official in Franklin Township, New Jersey. Thank you so much for being with us. I was listening to you over the weekend, and you said that government officials are lying to you. Now, given that the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, just went out and said some of what people are seeing are drones. People are seeing drones. Do you feel that the government is still lying to you?
I think they're coming closer to the truth. They've been trying to discredit these sightings from the very beginning. Our meeting last Wednesday, it was the same tactic where they try to brush it off that we weren't seeing what we were seeing. I've actually seen the drones. You know it's a drone because it moves forward, it stops and hovers, moves to the side, stops and hovers, moves backwards. I've never seen a plane do that. And you know it's not a helicopter because it's close enough and you can't hear the sounds that you would hear from a helicopter. But I do want to say something. They keep saying that there's no risk to the welfare and safety of the public, and that's not true. We had a medevac helicopter diverted from taking somebody to a trauma center because of these drones. There's also the real risk of an airplane drone collision. The colonel of the state police told us on Wednesday that he's very concerned that at Mercer County Airport, where the drones have been sighted, that they're going to collide with a plane. That's a real threat to safety. And to just brush it off that nothing's happened yet, something has happened, but they brush it off when a gentleman by the name of Tobin with the Defense Department or something, some kind of spokesman, when he was asked that question directly, he just brushed it off. But it is a real threat to safety for the folks that live here in New Jersey.
I get it. And so in Boston, there were arrests made over people flying drones illegally over airport airspace. In Ohio, you had Wright-Patterson, some of the airspace there shut down because of drones that were illegally there in certain airspace there. But by and large, in many places, it is not illegal to fly drones, is it, even at night?
No, but what we're seeing here is it's a very different thing, right? So I live out in a rural part of New Jersey, and that probably surprised a lot of people that it's a rural part of New Jersey, but it's very rural out here. The folks that live out here spend a lot of time outside. They watch the planes fly over, the stars, the satellites, because you can see there's no light pollution out here. And then all of a sudden, these very large, they're not hobby drones, they're not some guys drinking beer in their backyard flying a drone. These are very sophisticated, large drones come into over their backyards. And they noticed them. And they're very smart people because to make sure that it wasn't a plane, they're going on this flight radar 24, which shows all the planes in the vicinity. And they're making sure that when they talk about this, that they're talking about something that they saw, which was a very large, very sophisticated drone over their home. And then they hear reports of these drones being over Trump National, which is just down the road from us.
I get it, Assemblyman,
or
I get
at the Kissimmee Arsenal.
Yeah, restricted airbase, absolutely. The law is crystal clear. Size and sophistication of drones, which sometimes can be hard to detect from the ground, a little less clear about whether it's illegal or legal. Some of them are perfectly legal to fly in the sky. I guess what I'm saying is the concern here, where is it placed? There is clear illegal activity, but when the activity is legal, shouldn't the energy be focused, or could you be focusing your energy as a lawmaker on passing laws to regulate it? If you've got a problem with people flying drones at night, can you pass some laws to stop that?
Sure. Actually, after this interview, I'm going down to Trenton for a committee hearing. In one of the committees, there's a bill to prohibit drones being flown over schools. We already have laws that prohibit certain places drones being flown, and those laws are being violated. Like I mentioned with the Helivac, it says if it violates law enforcement or first responders, if it interferes with their business, that's a violation of law. That's already a law here in New Jersey. It's not a matter of illegality. It's a matter of the number of drones, the sophistication of them that they're coming in. It's obvious. It's not hobbyist. It's obvious that it's some kind of enterprise that's
who do you think it
very
is?
sophisticated. The question is, what are they doing and why are they doing it night after night after night?
What does your gut tell you? What do you think it is?
You know, I don't know what to believe. I think Senator Blumenthal said it correctly. Either the government, the Homeland Security, knows exactly what it is, and they're not telling us. They're lying to us. That's where they would be lying to us. Or they have no idea, which is a total failure of national security.